pleased to say that Tim Jones is with us, Executive Director at Tata Limited. Tim, it's nice to see you. Look, so many areas of potential collaboration, aren't there? Give me a sense of where you see that growth coming, first of all, and crucially, what it would mean for you in your role.
So I think the growth can come in a number of areas, but I think where we perhaps should focus for the free trade agreements and looking to flesh out the roadmap to 2030 is where we see the economy going. In a sense, not where it's been, but where we see the economy going. And I think we at Tata increasingly see the economy digitizing. TCS is obviously, for us, the flagship company within the group leading on that, but there are many other companies doing their own digitizing, and we are launching Tata Digital. So it's an exciting time looking prospectively at a much more digital future. And one example would be 5G, where we are embarked upon a 5G initiative. And if the last decade was the decade of 4G, which was primarily B2C, 5G's decade, the next 10 to 15 years, is likely to be as much B2B as it is deepening B2C.
So just explain those for people who are maybe not familiar with the lingo. So talking about maybe very domestic applications, consumer applications, things on our smartphones for 4G. 5G opens up a whole new realm of possibility.
Right, which you'll experience as a consumer, some of them.
Yes.
But some of them will be factory optimizations, which you won't directly experience. Some of them will be things like managing convoys of cars and trucks safely on motorways, because with 5G, entities can talk to each other without having to go up to the cloud, and so you can get low latency to allow the construction of those sorts of things. You'll experience it by being placed into the convoy and brought out of the convoy safely. But it's a B2B application to make that happen. And think about the delivery slots we get at the moment. If you want a B2C example, wouldn't it be nice to say, well, I'd like the curry 5 minutes after I get home? When's that? I don't know. I'm on my way home. I may be held up. But 5G can cope with all of that and drop the curry, and not drop it directly, 5 minutes after you get home.
You use the word there, optimization, and that is what will be so crucial, because we know for so many different reasons resources are limited, be they financial or natural resources. We, of course, have an eye on increasing environmental concerns, the race to net zero. Optimization that is possible, just explain the sort of practical applications. How can we use things better?
So a great example is making sure that trucks stay full.
Right.
So trucks that are empty are going back to where they need to get their next load, but they're damaging the environment. They're not economically productive. So getting trucks to be loaded all the time without inconveniencing the operator of the truck is a great simple example of optimization. But another more digital example is that we're all familiar with contracts. Well, contracts are going digital. And smart contracts will be the sorts of things, pieces of software, that can be executed contingent on a previous action. So something's concluded, oh look, we can now move on. The more India and the UK can have aligned contractual structures, the easier it'll be to do joined up business incorporating smart contracts between India and the UK.
How realistic is it, to use your example of a smart contract? Because we know that India loves paperwork and bureaucracy. How much of a mindset shift, if nothing else, is that to encourage the use, for example, of smart contracts?
Well, it is a mindset shift, but India's a lot of the way there. I mean, it's fascinating to see the progress that India has made on digital banking, on healthcare. And what we're seeing really is China and India becoming the two countries, because they have 1 billion plus people to look after, that are now right at the leading edge of finding solutions for these sorts of things. So it's going to come naturally.
And some would argue that China's maybe stolen a little bit on India when it comes to reputational. What did Made in China stand for in the past, and what do we feel it stands for now? Is it fair to say India still has a little bit of a bit of a way to go to catch up for the Made in India brand to be just as powerful?
So it may have, and the way you you do that is to be excellent in everything that you do. And if you think about some of the new businesses that we're developing in Tata, we have a medical diagnostics business creating excellent tests. We have an aerospace business creating excellent aircraft. We have an emergent electronics business which will create excellent. So you just create excellence in everything you do, and the rest happens. Because brands are a reflection of the reality that underpins them. And India is excellent. India will be increasingly excellent. And in the creation of that excellence, the brand will evolve.
So there we've sort of focused on 5G a little bit. Talk to me where there are other areas, and many of them are interlinked because it's technology to its big heading, but things like cyber, and we heard from the Foreign Secretary of the UK there talking about the importance of cyber. Talk to me about the implications there.
So if the future is digital, what are the digits representing? Data.
Yes.
It's often very sensitive data. It's often personal data, or it's sensitive corporate data. So all of that data needs to be protected. But the rights of the data owner need to be understood. And so all of the stuff around the creation, the protection, the storage, the manipulation, the ethical constraints on the manipulation of data, the more, again, India and the UK can converge at a high level. In other words, to have excellence in those standards, the more India and the UK can work together to create products that can have global impact.
I'm interested as well that we're in an era whereby it seems that lots of walls are going up, be they trade walls, political walls, or whatever. What you're talking about is trying to break down some of those. How hopeful are you that that can happen? Because if you look at, for example, the UK and India, there are so many areas of overlap and so many things in common that, for there to be walls built for whatever reason, that would be very destructive to the relationship.
I'm very confident about it for the UK and India. It's the living bridge. It's the diaspora. It's the fact that we gave India English as a language, which means that all Indians can talk to each other with one language, English. It's the fact that there's a lot of overlap between English law and Indian law. And so we have so much in common, and we have this deep bond of trust from the diaspora and the living bridge, that I think the two countries are in an excellent place to go forward and build trust and work together in these sensitive areas.
And from a business point of view, how does that relationship work? Are we talking about, designed in the UK, manufactured in India, sold out? What will that relationship look like?
Sometimes. If you look at TCS, TCS won't mind me saying that I'm very hopeful that soon there'll be 20,000 TCSs in the UK. And they work absolutely hand in glove with their colleagues in India and elsewhere. And so it's not just a kind of design in the UK, make in India, export to the world, but that can be part of it. But it can also be a fulfill for customers wherever they are, where it makes sense to fulfill, which can be a mixture with digits. The digits don't take long to get between the UK and India.
Now, you touched a little bit on data privacy. It is such a hot issue, particularly in the wake of the pandemic. What is our health data being used for? What is our digital passport? All of those sorts of things. Give me a sense of how we manage that relationship across borders as well.
I think it's difficult. But if you have a relationship like UK-India, where the fundamental levels of trust are strong, that's a great place to start. And so that's where I think we've got to work. And we work by doing things. And in doing things, we come across issues and we resolve those issues and the trust deepens. And that's the way you make progress.
You talked at the beginning about, focusing on what comes next, not about what's happened, where we've been. It's about where these growth opportunities are. And I suppose there's a lot of businesses that will come about from inventions like 5G that we don't even know about. We're not even aware of what that application will be. What, to you, are the hallmarks of the businesses of the future? What will they be doing?
They'll be helping businesses, governments, and citizens just get through their daily lives in an easier, more straightforward way, so that you can get the healthcare you need when you need it, where you need it. You can get the services that you need. You can access government to understand what to do to re-license your car. All of the things that you need to do. The friction is reduced and reduced and reduced. And that gives then time or opportunity for people to focus their time further up the value chain,
Yes.
because the frictional activities reduce, and they can become more creative and create more exciting businesses.
So to use your earlier example of the optimization, this is essentially sort of lifestyle optimization, isn't it? Free up all this time to do other things and not be bogged down in paperwork. What are you most excited about?
I think I'm most excited about the set of technologies. You can loosely call it 5G, but it's smart contracts and the Internet of Things, and the next 2 generations of smartphones, where there's so much more in the box in terms of capability. So 4G was an exciting decade. 5G should be a super exciting decade, and a more profoundly exciting decade, because it reaches into business and government as well as into the consumer space.
And we know, of course, Tata has so many fingers, there's so many pies, so many, such a diverse organisation. And with that, I suspect the applications will look very different depending on which part of your organisation you are in.
They will, and the way, conglomerates are unfashionable. So how on earth does Tata as a conglomerate succeed? And the answer is that each individual group company has an enormous amount of freedom to make its own future. And the group will own a holding in each group company.
Yes.
But, Tata Motors, Tata Steel, Tata Power, Tata Chemicals, Titan, all of the other companies, TCS, Tata Communications, Tata Technologies, they all make their own decisions, including when to fly our wonderful airline Vistara into London, which we are now doing, and when to put up a beautiful hotel in London. So it's that laser focus that each company has inside the group to create its own future that means that the futures will be very different, because we do retail in India, we do different sorts of retail in India, and there's nothing to stop us doing retail here. We don't do it yet, but who knows? So if we did it here, we would do it in a way that made sense for here.
And quite clearly, we know that the past 18 months has been devastating for so many people in so many ways, but we keep hearing the idea that from this we will grow, we will find new opportunities, we'll look at different ways of doing things. Do you think that message has got through at the right levels, particularly in government, for example, but also in organisations of all shapes and sizes, in all industries? We need to think about doing things differently.
I think it has. I think it's already been mentioned in this forum, but remote healthcare around the world has come forward 5 years in 15 months. Yeah. And it's not the only thing. The balance of working from home and working in offices has just raced forward. The way in which we can jump on a Teams or Zoom or whatever WebEx call has transformed the way we do business. They don't do everything well, but the technologies do some things better than face-to-face. And so we'll come towards a new normal, a mixture of face-to-face, and it's great to be here, and then jumping on a call, because that also works to draw people together quickly from different geographies.
It's so lovely to see you in person as well. It's so long since we were able to do this. So Tim, it's so nice to see you again. Thanks so much. Yeah, last time was back in 2019, wasn't it? It seems a very long time ago. But Tim, thank you so much. Tim Jones there, who's the Executive Director at Tata Limited.
Thank you.